Screen Slurp.
Hello and welcome to Screen Slurps, the movie review podcast where we discuss everything that is good, that is bad, and that is savage in the world of cinema. I'm Adam Meisner.
I'm DJ Gerhardt. How the hell are you, Adam?
I'm doing pretty good, and how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, too.
I sounded like I was introducing a porno right there. How are you,
What?
baby?
Well, that's a different show Adam probably has. I don't know.
I know this episode we're talking about network. We're talking about network television, and
Network.
I know that's not exactly a thing you see on network television, but maybe we can start something.
Yeah, but you know what? Regardless of what endeavors, projects we do in the future, ethically, of course, I'm excited to review this film, this 1976 film, Network. Wow. I had never seen this film before, and I'm so glad that you picked it, Adam. And I'm just baffled. I'm embarrassed that I haven't watched it yet until, for this episode this week. And I hope other people in our audience is excited too, because this is such a great film. But before we get into that, I gotta ask you, buddy, or you know what? This week I'm gonna demand it. I'm gonna say, Adam, tell me about this week's side slurps. Like, what have you been watching, reading, playing this past week besides watching Network? Tell me right now. God damn it. And
it's all
angry
on network television.
I'm mad as hell.
Upset.
And I'm not gonna take it anymore. God damn
I
it.
need to know.
It's my money and I want it now.
It's my week of slurping and I need to slurp more.
Tell me your slurps.
I don't know.
God
Tell
damn
me
it.
what's slurping.
There's a lot of goddammits in this movie, by the way.
They're really, god damn it. Yeah. Jeez. I gotta say,
dude,
really.
What have you been slurping?
Well, it's, between you and I, mostly it comes down to a lot of video games and a lot of television or film, and that's really where it's at right now. I don't.
Sorry,
listeners, we do get out of the house. I promise.
I just had this image of Adam just lying on the couch, and Adam's a very compact human being,
maybe handcuffed to the side of the couch, just like I can't
just,
get out.
Enormous and having Dorito dust all over your chest and a tank top and just drooling, falling asleep on the couch with tons of video games playing and anime just flashing. And yeah.
Hey, I already finished Cowboy Bebop, but you know how many anime shows are out there and how much manga there is? Well, you would know. You are that guy who does know.
You know what? I'm never gonna leave it. I'm never gonna go. I'm never gonna check into rehab.
Ironically, I'm the one that doesn't know. I'm the one that really has only watched Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, and that's pretty much the only anime I watch. You're the one that talks about Dragon Ball Z every single week. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun here. You haven't even started telling us yet.
I'm gonna talk about it. So, yeah, spoiler alert, dude. If you want more anime, I'm gonna give you more anime, and I'm not ashamed of it. If anybody is thinking I'm weird, I don't care, because I love anime and I love manga. There was a time where I would hide that, and I was embarrassed by it, but I found my community. I found my people. And
we want to know who the guy with the Doritos on his chest is. It's you.
Wait, what's on my chest?
Yeah. I was saying, we want to know who the big guy with the Doritos on his chest is. It's you.
No, I work out. I'm almost done with Insanity Max 30. What are you talking about? My abs are showing now.
Okay. Well, you wanted to know what I've been slurping this past week.
What have you been slurping this past week?
I'll rewind. Okay. I've been playing Destiny 2. I know the game's a little bit dated, but
Destiny's Child 2.
Yeah, Destiny's Child 2. They really keep up with it, actually. I really just let it kind of collect dust after it first came out, and I was into it when it first came out. A lot of fun, but then, it kind of starts to get dated, and other games come out and they catch your interest. And recently I thought, you know what, why not just put Destiny 2 and see what's going on. And I noticed they're in season 11 right now. Like, it's this big epic RPG of a game. And as I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, season 11, and you have to pay money to technically really participate in the seasons. So, of course, that's how they get you. You can still play the game, you can still play some of the older content, but to really get access to some of the exclusive weapons and armor or cosmetic items or things like that, it's like, well, pay to play in this season, which is like $10. And that's annoying. Yeah, that's really stupid. To which, if I wanted to pay money, I'd just jump into World of Warcraft with DJ. So
you know what? It's a flat rate though. It's a flat $15 a month rate, and like people can buy shit, but like I don't really run into people who buy shit. I run into people who earn shit. You pay the $15 a month, but then that's it. You have to work. You have to build. You have to earn it.
Yeah. And then if I was playing World of Warcraft, it feels good when you play a game and you earn that kind of stuff. Then you get done, you're like, yeah, I actually did something in a video game. Like,
yeah,
that's why you play games in the first place most of the time. Is you start at level 1 and you get up to level 10, and you're like, yeah, I feel good that I did that. Exactly. But anyways, that's on a side note. After me playing Destiny 2, I've been watching Twin Peaks. As I've said in prior episodes, I'm about halfway through season 2 now. So, spoiler alert, they've pretty much figured out who killed Laura Palmer at this point. They haven't announced it in the show yet, but all clues are pointing to who killed Laura Palmer. The person who has killed Laura Palmer, assumably who has killed Laura Palmer, has also killed someone else who is related to Laura Palmer in an extremely similar way. They've killed them. So you can kind of make a very safe assumption who killed Laura Palmer. So we're just waiting for Dale Cooper, the main detective, Kyle MacLachlan's character, to figure out who killed Laura Palmer, and he's pretty much just about there, and we're about halfway through season 2. So, but I highly suggest watching this show. If I haven't said that already, please go watch Twin Peaks, because David Lynch is, for lack of a better term, the shit. David Lynch is awesome, and he makes great stuff. So check it out. Twin Peaks is awesome. And other than that, like last week, I've been watching the show Catfish. It just sucks you in. It's just social media is a total game, much like we'll probably talk about in the show Network, the movie we're talking about this week. Social media and people in general, it's just it's all a game, man. It's just personalities and people acting like somebody else or putting on a facade. I could just go on and ramble about all of that, but just people lie, and it is so sick. DJ, can you believe this? Can you believe the world we live in right now? And I mean, like, social media, things like Facebook, and I haven't actually had a chance to watch the movie The Social Dilemma yet.
That's one of my slurps this past week.
We should certainly talk about that sometime. But it's amazing to look at something. If we went back 30 years from now into the 90s, I was born in the 80s, the 90s. I was born in the 90s, so
it would be 1990, 30 years ago. So you're right. Never mind.
Yeah. So I mean, I was born in the 90s. But growing up young in the 90s, I should say, it was a very simple time being young in the 90s, and like things weren't like they are today. When I first had a cell phone, it was it wasn't touch screens and all that. I had a Nokia phone that was double buttoned. I thought that was cool. It was kind of like push up to hit 1 and down to hit 5, and it was a very very simple cell phone. It had Centipede on the phone. That was really cool.
Centipede.
And now it's like I can't believe it.
It's too much. I used to my favorite pre-smartphone, my favorite dumb phone, whatever, was a Razor. My Razor, I loved it.
Those things were so thin, cool. Though. I was always worried those things would break in an instant.
I loved it. I loved flip phones. It was very thin. It fit really nicely in my pocket, and it felt cool. It felt like whenever I whipped it out, it just felt like like a badass. And I loved it. I remember getting that phone and thinking like, This is the last phone I'll ever need. This is literally. I'm never gonna need another phone. I've like tried other phones. I've tried Nokia. I've tried like the sides, slider that has a tangible keyboard. I've tried, the brick in my hand. It has like the antenna that pops out. But like, I'm like, this Razr is the final phone that I ever need. Oh boy, let me. I'm gonna swing back to The Social Dilemma because I actually did watch it.
Nice.
But before I get to that, I'll touch on the more lighter slurps that I've been slurping this week. That would include, of course, streaming World of Warcraft on my Twitch channel, which, by the way, Adam, I got to thank you and Laura for helping me figure out pet battles on World of Warcraft. Thank you for getting
Always
on the channel.
And it was just like Pokemon, too.
It just like Pokemon. Yep. It was so much fun, and I liked continuing. I never knew you could do that in World of Warcraft, just catch pets and then battle them. It's so much fun. You can name them, they can follow you, and it's just, I don't know, it's so much fun. So yeah, thank you for Googling that mid-stream for me while I was playing, and then helping me catch all these. I think I've catch like 6 pets that night during that stream. So yeah, it's all you and Laura, Adam. Thank you so much. But I also continue playing Chrono Trigger on my Nintendo 2DS XL, and I didn't play as much video games this past week because I also started reading Dune by Frank Herbert. I cracked it back open. I started a while ago and I put it down, and I picked it back up again because I watched the new 2020 trailer for the new Dune movie. Yes. And it looks incredible, and I started reading the book, and I'm like, man, why have I not read this before? Like, why? I mean, it's so good. I don't know. I think maybe the last time I was reading it, I started reading it, and I had nothing against David Lynch, but it was right around when we did our our Dune 1984 Dune episode on Screen Slurps, and I think I was imagining that movie while I was reading the book by Frank Herbert, and it just did not leave a good taste in my mouth. Spice. And the sleeper has awakened. And and so I have like a new image in my head now from the new trailer starring Timothée Chalamet and Oscar Isaac and Jason Momoa,
Batista.
Yeah, just like all these excellent actors, and this like new vision done by the same director that did Blade Runner 2049 and Arrival, and it just it puts like a new world in my head, and now I'm like, I can't wait. Like after we get done with this episode recording, I'm probably gonna go read it again, like, or continue reading it. Like I'm excited about it, and I haven't felt that about a book in a long time. So really recommend the Dune book, everybody, by Frank Herbert. That was written back in 1964, in the 60s sometime. But it's incredible how like, and also I could see like the ties between like the inspiration of like Game of Thrones, like Song of Ice and Fire came from, of course, Star Wars and stuff. But it seems, and I don't mean this like in a snobby way, but it feels and seems so much more sophisticated, and also everything that Paul Atreides is going through seems like it's very relevant right now with everything that's going on in our, in the dystopia we're bridging on right now. So I really recommend it to people. I think a lot of people can really connect to it right now. Other than reading Dune, I've also been, of course, watching Dragon Ball Super and reading the manga. Spoilers. Yeah, if you're new to the show, listeners, please know that we spoil the shit out of everything. Lovingly, of course. We're not trying to ruin your experience, but we're here to gush and also pay honest, I guess, regurgitation if something's bad or we didn't like it. Keep in mind that like we don't really consider ourselves critics. We consider ourselves like cinephiles, and we are reporting on our actual truthful experience. These are all our opinions on things. So if you have a different opinion, by all means, keep that opinion. We're not here to convince you of otherwise.
And tell us about it, please.
Tell us about it. We want to know different sides of the spectrum. We want to know what other people think, and we're just here recording because we love movies. Obviously we also love video games too, and books and comic books and all that stuff. We're nerds, but we can't help but talk about the stuff when and as we consume it. So yeah, that's the way it is here at Screen Slurps. And if you don't like it, that's a-okay.
The door's open for you.
Yes. Please come back. But yeah, Dragon Ball Super. Let's see, where am I? I just finished. So Zamasu, God Zamasu, has now been destroyed by Zenny, who's he's the grand lord of everything. Basically, he's God, but he's like super cute and he's like really small. And he talks like, okay, hey Goku, okay, well that's really bad right here. Okay, I'll get rid of it right now. It's really funny. I love it. This is the thing about Dragon Ball Super is that it's so funny. Like it's not like slapsticky. Like I hate it when shit like gets too schlocky. Like and it's like, look at this. I saw the news this past weekend. Look at this. You know, I'm doing this like retort or this commentary, and it's like, you know, I mean, sorry, but a lot of Saturday Night Live is like that recently, the past few years, and there's some good moments definitely for sure, but like the majority of it is just like I don't know. That's why I've always kind of gravitated away from sketch comedy. I've always enjoyed improv comedy and stand-up comedy a lot more than sketch comedy, because like very seldomly did I find like a good sketch that a sketch show that actually made me really laugh. You know, I could see like a sketch show and be like, oh, that was clever. Oh, I know the reference they're getting. Okay, I'm in the joke. You know, I'm like, oh, I had a lot of moments when I watched a lot of sketch comedy, but rarely did I, you know, gut bust and start laughing and couldn't stop laughing. I did feel that a lot with like improv and stand up and situational comedies or shows just happen to have comedy in it, like Network that we're going to be reviewing today. Like none of the jokes were forced. It was just real, and the way it was played, it wasn't supposed to be funny, but it was funny in how like real it was, and that to me is like the best comedy. That to me makes me actually laugh, not be like, oh ha ha ha, oh lol. Like I want to actually laugh, and it's so much funnier when things are natural. I'm sorry, I know there's definitely good sketch comedy out there, but there's a lot of sketch comedy that I've seen on TV, on stage, that it doesn't feel natural. Therefore, I'm not gonna gut bust laugh. I wanna laugh. I wanna feel good. That's why I go to comedy. Anyway, again, not judging everybody. I'm sorry if you have a sketch comedy team that's, you know, you're working hard. Please keep working hard.
I mean, when it doesn't feel natural, that's usually why you go to school for comedy, is because that's when you're starting off and you're like, how do I make it natural?
I don't know, dude. That's a good advice, but like I've seen a lot of people who did go through all the schools and still aren't doing that. I think you just have to get it. I think, yeah, part of it's education, part of it's practice, but also you just have to get it in yourself. You know, you have to understand it in yourself. But anyway, if you're working hard at it, keep working hard, not trying to dream kill anybody. So yeah, I really enjoyed Dragon Ball Super is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so other than that, onto something that's not funny at all that this is the last thing on my list, my side slurps for the week, is I watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix. I'm going to say,
was it a dilemma?
It's a very disturbing documentary. It's a very good documentary. It's a very real documentary. It's a very relatable, especially right now. This documentary interviews a lot of people who used to work for the big tech giants, and they come out telling their true stories and the things that were developed to keep our attention on, and this is going to be very related, connecting to Network, which is so weird because that was back in 1976, that these companies, and I won't talk about this too much, but these companies have developed designs that's made to keep us engaged, keep our attention. They make money by selling our attention. We are the product to these tech companies, to advertisers, that they give them money because we're there, and they want to keep us there. They have developed different AI that are backed up by these supercomputers that are in these, just as far as the eye can see, warehouses, and also that are like above ground and underwater. And they are designed to figure out how each individual person, like how Adam Meisner may like something that's like something music related or something anime related, and it's designed to then give you this instant gratification of almost kind of like a slot machine within your feed. And then there's always going to be a new thing though with that feed. There's always going to be a reward with that jackpot, that slot machine, like in Vegas, like pulling that screen down, pulling that feed down. Always going to get something new, and it rewards you, and there's no end to it. Like, for instance, there's a scene in it where one of the main tech designers that I believe he left Google, he talks with this person who's head of this organization in Chicago. He's a little bit older. I could tell he's like, at least baby boomer generation. And this guy, I think he's like either older millennial or a Gen Xer. His name's Tristan, I think. I'll have to get back to you on that last name. But Tristan, he kind of actually the main guy throughout the documentary. They were comparing like, well, this is just a new thing, like social media and smartphones are just the new thing. We did the same thing. We had to deal with it when like the printing press came out and newspapers were coming out. And we had to do the same thing when like TV came out, this is just a new thing. And he's like, yes, I hear you. But like, for instance, and he doesn't make this comparison, I am, when you read a newspaper, you're done. Like when you read the whole newspaper, you're done. When you watch the TV and it's done. Yeah, I mean, like there's going to be another show, but like you may not like that show. I mean, it's not made for you. It's just a TV show. It's not made for you.
Right.
YouTube has an algorithm that shows you another video that knows exactly what you want, and it is endless, and it's made to keep you engaged forever. And the thing is though, with that, and also like the social aspect of like comparing egos and your own self-worth, like for instance, and how detrimental that is. It goes into like the suicide rate of American preteen and teenage girls, and how it's increased dramatically since the dawn of social media, since they got on social media. Like girls ages 15 to 19, the rate of suicides have gone up 70% since the year 2009, and girls,
oh my god,
the girls ages 10 to 14 have gone up 151% since 2009. Like you and me, Adam, we're part of it. We are millennials. Like we are part of the last generation, really, that will have remembered what life was like you were mentioning earlier, what life was like before social media and smartphones, and what life was like after, when we all engaged in social media and smartphones. The Gen Zs and the ones beyond us, they will be the generation who were raised. They were raised under the very meaning of communication, the very meaning of culture is manipulation. It's manipulation with social media and smartphones. They are engaging with it during the developmental years, and they don't know any other life. They don't know any other life. So it's like, what hope did they have if you have this brain that's 1 million years old in evolution, and it's just you're encased in that brain that's inside your skull, and you're looking at this phone, and on the other side of it is a supercomputer and all these tech designers that are like really aiming to change your real world behavior and emotions and triggering them without your awareness. It's like, who's going to win? Your one brain, which is still vast and great in itself, or against all these other brains that are out to get you, really? And the thing is that it does show some hope, like to wrap up this conversation. And really all it is like, it's not so much like entertainment that I see. It's triggering to change. Like our world needs to change. And also gets into how politics have been just like really radicalized, and how other countries have used social media and played the rules. I'm using quotations for those who can't see me, and played the rules in order to affect people and turn them against each other, and really just give them a feed that continuously tells them they're right, and politicians that use populism and and bringing out the worst in people is basically what it is like it's bringing the worst in people. And if something doesn't change, and the listeners, I highly recommend you watch this movie, The Social Dilemma on Netflix. And it is there to bring awareness to a deep, huge problem with our modern world, especially in the past 10 years. And it is hopeful at the end if these precautions and these changes are planted and enforced and changed, and the more aware that we are of it, the more likely there'll be change. But if not, we are heading towards a dystopia, like especially what could be, which I pray that this doesn't happen in the short-term future, is civil war. And I hope that doesn't happen. Because it's not the smartphones itself that's going to, like my phone is not going to, ruin a country. It's the phones.
Well, not on its own.
Influencing people to ruin a country. Exactly. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about it right there. I wanted to bring it up and I wanted to talk about it because as I watched Network, Adam, I found a lot of similarities, and I didn't plan for it to be I didn't plan for it to be a companion piece, and it was. I watched The Social Dilemma first, and then I watched Network, and I was like, "Whoa, these two films go really well together. Like they're saying similar things in different times, and we're just like 40 years in the future from Network, and it's like, whoa." Anyway, I'm going to pause that. I'll reference it later, but let's get into talk about Network, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening about Social Dilemma, but go watch it. It's so good. It's good. It's not happy feeling. It's just really important. So,
and from that, we go right into the past, to network television.
Time travel to the 70s. Well, buddy, this week, why don't you go ahead and do the summary, man? You can have this one. No pressure, but this was your suggestion, and I really appreciate it because I'm so glad I watched this film. So, by all means, you have the floor, sir.
Sure. Well, Network is a 1976 American satirical black comedy drama film written by Paddy Chayefsky and directed by Sidney Lumet about a fictional television network, UBS, and its struggle with poor ratings. The film stars Faye Dunaway, William Holden, Peter Finch, and Robert Duvall, and features Wesley Addy, Ned Beatty, and Beatrice Straight. Network received widespread critical acclaim with particular praise for the performances. It really did very well. The film won 4 Academy Awards in the categories of Best Actor for Peter Finch, Best Actress for Faye Dunaway, Best Supporting Actress for Beatrice Straight, and Best Original Screenplay for Paddy Chayefsky. So there you have it. Network just swept the Academy Awards in 1977.
Yeah, and rightfully so. It was. I'm embarrassed that I never saw this movie before, and
I mean that was what it won. It was nominated for even more. I mean, it was up for Best Editing, it was up for Best Director, it was up for Best Picture. Yeah, I mean it was crazy. And
I liked what screenwriter Aaron Sorkin wrote about the film. He wrote, "No predictor of the future, not even George Orwell, has ever been as right as Chayefsky was when he wrote Network." And when I touched on Social Dilemma, it was he's absolutely right. It Very was mind blowing. It was crazy to hear these things coming from Howard Beale and people around him, and it was like, wow, people were aware of this. In this case, ladies and gentlemen, they were directing it towards TV at the time, like the tube, not YouTube, but the tube.
Yes. And this was also before they were really recording television as well, too. This is, is network television before you could record or tape TV. This wasn't, the Netflix era or YouTube or anything like that. This is straight television where you're watching it live and that's all you've got.
Yeah, way before Adam and I were born. I have no idea what life was like before that. As he was acknowledging Howard Beale, the character Howard Beale, was acknowledging that there's a generation now that just knows the tube, the TV. And you and I, we even though we didn't have smartphones in our hands, I mean, God, I remember like I temped at one place, and I remember like this one coworker that I had. She was she just had a baby. It was like a 2-year-old or something. She's like, oh, maybe I'll get him an iPad or something. I'm like, are you crazy? Like, you're getting him an iPad at 2? Do you realize that like you're going to ruin his mind with it's not like getting a video game. It's not like letting them watch TV. It's not. complete. They're like, oh, whatever. Like, no,
you can't get the 2-year-old to watch VeggieTales or something. You're going to get him an iPad.
Exactly. Like when you beat Zelda, like when you beat Ganon, it's done. You don't pull the screen down and there's something new. You know what I mean? You beat Ganon, you save Zelda, the game's done. Like, and you put it down. It's like a book. It's just an interactive book basically, and
yeah.
You don't get it. It's not made to keep you addicted. iPads, tablets, screens, smartphones, they're made to get you addicted. And
yes.
Like, anyway, I thought, whatever. I shouldn't judge her for her parenting, but I thought that was ridiculous. I hope she didn't get the kid an iPad. But we didn't have those screens in our hands. We may have a Game Boy, but it had like basic ass colors on it. It was nothing harmful compared to what it's today. But we didn't experience life when it was just a TV. Like when those, like my parents, I remember they would say like there's like a few channels, like 3 channels or something. And if something wasn't on. It was like this like color prism, and it's just like woo, and it wasn't like anything. I don't know if that was like maybe before their time or I don't know, because they were born in the 60s, and but yeah, it's a time that you and I are not aware of, and
right.
It's something that like I think you and I can only relate to in terms of the new technology that was introduced to us, late teens, early 20s. And we can only imagine how people were reacting to this new television that Howard Beale was preaching against. He was tired of the bullshit. Yeah. He's mad as hell. He's tired of, he's like, my life has meaning.
I want to start with the foundation of this film, which is the character Max Schumacher, who is essentially Howard Beale, the character Howard Beale's boss in this film. And Max Schumacher and Howard Beale, he's like his best friend. And Max Schumacher and Howard Beale are out. They're a little bit intoxicated. They're a little bit drunk, and they're talking. And what Howard Beale is possibly aware of, maybe a little unaware of, but his ratings are awful for his news show. They are not good at all, and Max Schumacher is very aware of that. And so as they're out having the time of their life, Max Schumacher lets Howard Beale know as they're at the bar that basically he's firing Howard Beale in a week, that like they're canceling his show. And so at the bar, Howard Beale says, at the bar, he's like, I'm going to kill myself on television. And I think, Max Schumacher kind of says like, wow, your ratings would really go up if you did that. They're kind of talking about it casually. Like, you know what? Wow, if you killed yourself on television, the ratings for your show would really go up. Just like as friends, they're having a conversation about this, which I think the fact that they play it off like that, that's one of the things in an instant, since this is the beginning of the film, that they're having this conversation like that already, that makes this film fantastic. Already the fact that they're having a conversation like this, and it's just so nonchalant, it's like, wow, they're really playing this off. Yeah, laughing about it, having a great time. It's like the fact that your character is like, the fact that Max Schumacher isn't freaking out like, you're going to kill yourself on TV. He's just like, no way. Like, he would never kill himself on television. Like, your ratings would be fantastic if you killed yourself on television. But little does Max Schumacher realize that the next day when Howard Beale is on the air, he threatens to kill himself on television the following week when his show is supposed to be canceled. And everyone is freaking out, particularly their asshole of a boss, which
Frank Hackett.
Yes, Frank Hackett. I hated Frank Hackett so much. Robert Duvall, the actor who played Frank Hackett, I hated Frank.
He
Hackett.
played it well though. He played it very well though. It was it was sublime. Everybody was great in this, but yeah, he was fantastic in that role. But
yes.
Yeah, asshole.
But just the way that everyone played their characters and the way that they played this story, because the fact that Howard Beale threatened to kill himself on television, the first reaction from Frank Hackett and the first reaction from everyone that wasn't the character Max Schumacher was, shit, we got to get Howard Beale off the air because we can't have him kill himself on television. Yeah. Max Schumacher's reaction, let's leave him on. He'll apologize, and he's not going to do it. And so what happens when they leave him on is then he tells everyone that, this is all bullshit and, life is bullshit. And so they cut to black. And
I love how Max was like, leave him on. Life is bullshit.
Yeah, and he starts answering the phones, and it's just like, yeah, I'm not taking him off. And then what happens to Max Schumacher after that? Well, he loses his job, and Faye Dunaway, Diane Christensen gets his job. This is the thing, is the reason she gets his job is because she's like, ratings are going up, and why don't we turn it into an entertainment show where Howard Beale keeps telling everyone that life is bullshit because it's entertaining, and I can make it even better. And that's the thing about this movie, is it's a personality show, and it makes me angry. I relate to Howard Beale, where it's like, I'm so mad. I wanted to throw a chair through my television because it was like the things that Howard Beale was saying to the world. I was like, you are talking to me, and you are like relating to me, and I do want to yell out my window. I'm mad as hell because I'm mad at all the other characters that are that are feeding off of you for money for themselves,
exploiting them. And all the things that he was saying, I was connecting to. Like, I don't know about the Saudi Arabia stuff, but like everything else, like I was connecting to, like they were looking at him like he was crazy, but like when he was talking about the universe and how he was connecting to all the living things, and I was like, this is beautiful. Like I totally feel what he's feeling. And then like he gets done talking, but he's like, you're not gonna take me off the air. And then he faints. I started laughing because like Max, he's like, oh boy, and he just goes sort of pick him up. And then like when they give him his own show, that's what he does, is like his thing is that he preaches his words, and then at the end he just falls over and faints every time.
And then they play the theme song. Just bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, it was so ridiculous. I mean, it was enraging, and it made me furious because of like how things it related to the world. It was a very dark comedy, and it was just also like it was silly and bonkers, but it had just raw truth. Like, and here's like since we're talking about Howard Beale so much, like I wanted to read this excerpt for anybody who hasn't seen it or would like to be reminded of this. And keep in mind, I'm not going to act as the great oh my god, Peter Finch, as Peter Finch did it. But yeah, here it is. Here's a little excerpt. So you listen to me. Listen to me. Television is not the truth. Yeah, I can kind of get into a little bit of the feel. Television's a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, slideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So if you want the truth, go to God. Go to your gurus, go to yourselves, because that's the only place you're ever gonna find any real truth. But man, you're never gonna get any truth from us. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We lie like hell. We'll tell you that Kojak always gets the killer, and that nobody ever gets cancer at Archie Bunker's house. And no matter how much trouble the hero is in, don't worry, look at your watch. At the end of the hour, he's gonna win. We'll tell you any shit you want to hear. Like, the boredom,
it is so true though.
Business we were just touching on that with the social dilemma, the tech companies.
No, as soon as he said that,
the boredom killing business. How disturbing is that?
As I heard him say that when I was watching this film, I was like, this is so true. As I sit there like on Facebook or as I listen to the news, it's like they say whatever we want to hear,
and you get
just so we can hear it.
You get me, everyone, as we're scrolling like crazy, we get nothing. Boredom is good. Listeners, hear me. I'm going to say this. Boredom is good. When you are bored, you look into yourself. When you're bored, you create, you write, you paint, you play, you find something to fill the hole in yourself. Boredom killing business is turning people into zombies. And it was like Howard Beale's like speaking like gospel or a prophet, you know, like it was true. And it's crazy that was 1976. Like, that's so crazy, like that they were talking about that back then, just about television. And now 50 some years later, whatever, like it is exponentially worse than it was back then, that they were already fearing that. So Patty Chayefsky, or Chayefsky, I'm not pronouncing it right, the writer of this movie, is like Nostradamus. Like, he's like a prophet. Like, I was like, holy shit, it's true, dude. You are so wise beyond your years. Like, this is incredible.
It was just amazing. And to see and hear the character Howard Beale say that on live television, and then just to watch the antagonist characters, Diana Christensen and Frank Hackett, play off of that. Like, hey, we're in the evening news entertainment. Why don't we exploit Howard Beale to boost ratings for our company? And cough, cough, spoiler alert at the end of the film, why don't we assassinate him on live television to boost ratings and our other show that's going to be about these assassins?
And then blame it on an anti-fascist group.
Yeah.
Like, literally hire these people. It's like, oh, this is anti-fascist group, you know? Like, it's like, oh my God, dude. So
just to boost
relatable
ratings
to today. So nuts,
and people will watch it because they're bored.
Exactly. They just want something to keep them like at like a monet. You don't feel great. You don't feel bad. You're just right in the middle. So you actually don't have any real feelings.
Yeah, they don't feel bad because they'll be getting more money for it. They're just they're looking for money. They're looking for ratings to boost, so they get more money.
And they don't care how much, you know, zombie sheep that they churn out with like all the audiences, all the listeners. Like, they just. That's why we say here at Screen Slurps, listeners, is that we want you to have your own opinion. We're not telling you to have an opinion. Me and Adam are just telling you our own opinion. We want you to think for yourselves. We don't want to manipulate you. We're not trying to get you addicted to this podcast. We'd like you to listen to it.
we are not the boredom exploiters here.
No, like, I mean, we're trying to make this podcast grow, and we want to like, you know, like make it, you know, like be in a way where like it could sustain us. That would be fantastic. But we're not out to change your real world behavior or get you addicted to Screen Slurps like in a bad way. It'd be great if you look forward to new episodes every Monday. That'd be great. But like, we don't want to take anything from your life. You know, we don't want to ruin you. And this is what this, you know, current age is like. And it sounded like that's what it was back then too, in the 70s. And it's just nuts, man. Like, people, like, it's just like what we're talking about. Jensen, when he was talking to Beale, Howard Beale, about like how, you know, there's no nations anymore. It's companies, you know, it's money. It's like currency between different countries, different nations. Like, that's what it's about. There is no democracy anymore. Like, we have this like illusion that there is. And there isn't, and it's so sad because like everything runs on money. If you want a politician to do something, you give them a ton of money. If you want, you know, people to influence Facebook in a way that leans towards a different politician, you pay a bunch of influencers and a bunch of internet trolls to start fights and start shit and spread fake news. And it's if you have the money, you could hire those people to do those nefarious, you know, immoral things. Money's unfortunately the most powerful thing on this planet between human beings. It's so unfortunate, but it's true. It's the horrible truth. And Jensen had that incredibly like dark but also funny like monologue performance that he had to Beale. I loved it. We were talking about that earlier. I love that monologue. Yeah, man, it was so good.
It is there's a giant paragraph I have from Jensen that
read it, man.
I'll run through it here. There's even more to it than that I won't read, but I'll read a nice little graph of it here, and I'll do my best impersonation of Jensen that I
Yeah,
can. But you are an old man who thinks in terms of nations and peoples. There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West. There is only one holistic system of systems, one vast and immane, interwoven, interacting, multivariate, multinational dominion of dollars, petrodollars, electrodollars, multi-dollars, Reichmarks, rins, rubles, pounds, and shekels. It is the international system of currency which determines the totality of life on this planet. That is the natural order of things today. That is the atomic and subatomic and galactic structure of things today. And you have meddled with the primal forces of nature, and you will atone. Am I getting through to you, Mr. Beale?
Oh, so good, so good. Oh, can you skip down to the paragraph that starts with "We no longer live in a world of nations," and then let me be Beale. Like, I'll say the one line. That can you do that one too? We no longer live in a world of nations. Can you do that one?
I have to find it.
Fine, I'll do it. I'll do it, and then
Okay.
you, and then all you have to do is say, "But why me?" And I think you know when it happens. So here we go. We no longer live in a world of nations and ideologies, Mr. Beale. The world is a college of corporations inexorably determined by the immutable bylaws of business. The world is a business, Mr. Beale. It has been since man crawled out of the slime, and our children will live, Mr. Beale, to see that perfect world in which there's no war or famine, oppression or brutality, one vast and ecumenical holding company for whom all men will work to serve a common profit, in which all men will hold a share of stock, all necessities provided, all anxieties tranquilized, all boredom amused. And I have chosen you, Mr. Beale, to preach this evangel.
Why me?
Because you're on television, dummy. I don't think I pronounced Evangelion, Neon Genesis Evangelion, anime. I have anime on my mind. Anyway, yeah, that was this
Evangel.
The interaction we said, but because you're on television, dummy. Like that made me laugh so hard. Like that was so good. It was so well written. It performed. It was so serious and dark and funny and like you mentioned earlier, Adam. We were talking off the mic. Was that cinematography that was incredible? Could you describe that a little bit, like what you liked about that?
Fantastic. Howard Beale, the shot of Howard Beale himself. I don't want to use the word standard, but it seems pretty standard. It seems pretty norm. I mean, the lighting is fantastic. It looks absolutely fantastic. But the reverse shot for Arthur Jensen. Is just so wonderfully done. The table looks, as long as it could possibly be, just a super long table. And it looks like it could go into the sun. I mean, there's no shot of the sun in this. It's a room. But I say that metaphorically. Like that table is just going.
Interesting.
It's just going on for days. And then there's these lamps that go all down the table. And they just get smaller as the table goes down. It's just the way it was set up. It's just so perfectly set where it looks like the objects get smaller as the table goes down. And then you see Arthur Jensen at the end of the table. And it's just, he is so perfectly set at the end of the table. And he also is a little bit small at the end of the table, but he's bigger, and he's just got that king position where he's just right in the middle there, and it's just this sense of power where it's just he is ruling right there, and he's got this long, archaic monologue that is super long, and I believe there's an interview I watched with him in the special features of the Blu-ray I own, where he was talking about how when he auditioned for this part, it was really intense because he said this was more intimidating than a Shakespearean monologue. He said that this was longer than any Shakespearean monologue that he had to do, which really puts it in terms. I mean, it's just this whole film, not just this monologue, but this entire film is very dialogue driven. And this isn't the only very focused monologue in the film. There are a lot of very good monologues that are in this film, but not just monologues. There's a lot of very well written dialogue scenes in this film. And there was a note that I had put down here.
While you're finding it, I just wanted to note how in that scene with Jensen at the end of the table, I loved how powerful he was, how he projected, all of his anger and dark insight to Beale. And I loved his use. I loved his use of his hands and how it was very theatrical. It was very, very theatrical. It was very it was a lot like Shakespeare. I've done Shakespeare in the past. I performed it, and and I've studied it too in school, and it's very, very much in that vein, in that very larger than life vein. And like Jensen, and like with a lot of other characters in this movie that do have very intense long monologues, a lot of them do. It's like they, like in a musical, like people like start singing and they burst into song. Because I remember when I was in musicals, like our directors usually would say like, okay, these people don't know how to express their feelings any other way besides song and dance. And in this way, like these long monologues, like a lot of them like yell it, but like it's not like screaming just for the sake of screaming. It's almost like boxing, like a boxing match with words, like, and that's what I loved about it. It was a boxing match with dialogue, and it was so awesome. And it wasn't like they were like yelling out, well, fuck you too. Oh, no, fuck you.
I'm glad they didn't do that.
It wasn't like that at all. It was much more powerful more powerful than telling someone to fuck off or fuck you. It was way more intelligent and way more powerful than that, and I loved it. I think it was like the scene I'm thinking of is like with Robert Duvall's character, Frank Hackett, and Max Schumacher. Is it Schumacher or Shoemaker?
Schumacher.
With Max and Frank, and also Diana, Faye Dunaway's characters in the office at the time. And Max is getting fired, and they're going back and forth, and it was just so good. And I'm like, man, I want to perform that. I want to be in that scene. I want to be able to have these words memorized in me and have them just flow. Like I can imagine like rehearsing those scenes with my scene partner, whoever, if I was playing Frank or Max or whatever, and having that like go back and forth and feeling, the richness and the spontaneity and the, I don't know, just real emotions that were just unleashed. And it was great. It was so good. It wasn't raunchy. It wasn't like just people saying dumb shit and calling each other names. It was pure emotion and anger that was chiseled to be its absolute intelligent sharpness. And it was so good.
I see what I was looking for earlier was I saw that in 2005, the two Writers Guilds of America voted Chayefsky's script one of the 10 greatest screenplays in the history of cinema. Paddy Chayefsky, the screenwriter for Network, this is one of the 10 greatest screenplays in the history of cinema. And I agree wholeheartedly. I think that the entire script for Network, it's just fantastic. I'd like to sit down and just give the script a read just because just the writing is so
like
well
have a table
done.
Read, dude. Like we could like it'd be cool like once things get to like to be non-COVID-y, like it'd be cool to like have like a in-person like live table read of this and like get some beers and pizza and like give parts to people and like read it. Wouldn't it be fun like to have like real like a table read of this? Like that'd be so
It was
much fun.
Adapted into a Broadway play with Bryan Cranston. So
Cranston. Oh, that would have been so good to see Bryan Cranston in this. That
really would have been to see Bryan Cranston
he was
be Howard Beale.
Yeah. It was in the UK stage debut as Howard Beale and Michelle Dockery as Diana. It opened up Broadway on December 6, 2018, and Cranston reprising his role as Beale, and with Tatiana Maslany as Diana and Tony Goldwyn as Max. Oh gosh, man, that would have been
cool.
Just It would have been just gold seeing them play that. I would. This is Adam. This is such a good movie. Like it was so good, and it was frightening, and it was electrifying. And that and by the way, listeners, when we were talking about like between Howard Beale and Jensen, that happened right after Howard Beale had been on his show, because they give him his show where basically they exploit his he's going through a mental breakdown. He needs help. As Max like stated, like he needs help. He needs psychiatric help. Like even a lot of what he's saying is true. He's not healthy right now. Like it's not like he's spouting nonsense. He's just not healthy right now, and they don't care. They don't care about it. They just want to get ratings up and money and advertising, whatever. They don't give a shit.
Keep him on the air. Keep him spouting nonsense.
Yeah, even though they're not like keep him on the air, and let's also make sure he's getting rest and a good diet and psychiatry and like.
No, they're thinking let's not give him a psychiatrist so that he keeps saying
exactly. Yeah, exactly. They just want to exploit him, which is so sad. And then they kill him. They hired people to assassinate him, which is
to increase ratings.
Oh my god. Yep. To increase ratings. Like how evil. But like with that. So like the scene between like Howard Beale and Jensen, that happened after Howard Beale had stated, what was it, that he instructed like all the viewers to write letters to the White House to basically pull out of like foreign policy with Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it fucked him. It fucked everything over, and that's why Jensen was yelling at him when it comes to like, no, we need Saudi Arabia's money. Like, he's like, no, you have to go back on air because people listen to you because you're on TV, dummy, and you're basically an Instagram influencer with like 12 million followers, and you need to go there and say like how this can't happen, how democracy's not real or whatever. No, he told him basically like to spout patriotism, like nationalism, basically.
Right.
Like, American spirit.
But I think democracy. It was by doing that that his ratings went down.
Yeah, you're right. It did go down. And then I think that's when he was talking about that monologue I read off earlier was how, people were not reading books anymore at this time, like 1976. Like people were reading newspapers now. People were glued to their television, and he's like, we don't tell you, like us as people on the TV, as Howard Beale says, like we don't tell you the truth. We'll tell you whatever shit it is, and if you even worry about the main character, don't worry because we're not going to kill him off because then we'd have no show. He's going to be fine at the end, so don't even worry about it. And then you're going to have another show that's similar, and like it's just and it's not helping anybody, and it's
all in the family. Okay, we got to keep it going.
All in the family, got to keep it going. And I wondered, like with this like observation of like network television back in the 70s, how it affected television narratives of the future. Basically, like you could have characters that are killed off right at the beginning, like Game of Thrones. Basically, spoilers if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, or read the books.
Spoiler: Sean Bean's only in the first season.
Only in the first season. He gets to take a big vacation by getting his head chopped off. Not Sean Bean, but Ned Stark. Sean Bean, don't die on us, please.
He takes a big vacation.
Yeah, exactly. And
doesn't he in most of his movies?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, he died in a lot of his movies.
He takes a big vacation.
Ugh, that's so sad, Sean Bean. Sorry. You're so good. Anyway, you have these characters like a network. I guess like not network, it's HBO, but like television basically where like risk can be taken because people got tired of the status quo. It was like, of course the main characters are gonna be fine. Like they're just gonna like they can't have a show without them, but like people start like writing these new shows where things are adapted and things are evolved where like you do have like these bigger risks taken with like such like Breaking Bad or I don't know, I guess maybe Mad Men or something. Like for instance, it was in that case it wasn't so much the threat of death with Mad Men, it was that the main character you were rooting for, Don Draper, was a bad person. He was the anti-hero, the anti-good guy, and people found that titillating to watch someone do bad things, and it wasn't but the thing is that like that became like the status quo after a while, showing main characters that do shitty things. And it's like this like evolution of like, okay, what do people want? Give them lots of it. Do you want this? Okay, you want pizza?
Isn't that the joy of Breaking Bad though? Is seeing Bryan Cranston do shitty things? Like that is why you watch Breaking Bad. I'm not saying
that Breaking Bad was in itself like saturated. It was one of the like those AMC shows were like revolutionary, like basically brought us in like this golden or at least what was the golden age of television, was that these shows such as that featured like oh my god, Bryan Cranston's character Heisenberg and Don Draper. You had these two men that were were the protagonists, and they were doing all these horrible things. Yeah, and that was new. That was a new thing. I remember like one show I used to watch. I probably should have been watching it. It was back in high school. I used to watch Nip Tuck on FX, and that was sort of like this like very, I mean, you look back on it, it's basically like softcore porn on FX. Like the things that got
I know what show you're talking
away
about.
with. Yeah, the things that got away with on network television or not network television, but cable was just crazy. But anyway, I used to watch it. And it featured these two plastic surgeons that were also in the midst of like doing these things, but they also do shitty things too. Like, and there's times where they're not even sorry about it, and it's not like they do something, because we all make mistakes. And it's not like they make a mistake and like, oh, I'm sorry, like I did this and I'm sorry. They would just do it. And there was almost like no remorse or no redemption arc. And it's like, why do we want to see that? It's like, but it's popular, and that's the thing with like Howard Beale. It's like he's seemingly losing his mind. Oh my God, he's just said he's gonna kill himself the next Tuesday. Like, we gotta see that. Like, isn't it crazy about human nature? Like, as a society, as a species, we delight in seeing that trauma. It's like, what does that say about us?
If I was watching that show, though, I would be like, that's crazy, but first I want him to have help.
Yeah,
exactly. First I want him to have
Get him help.
And like, let's really try and get him help. Let's have him get help. And if we all fail that badly and like there's no way he gets help, we're all trying our hardest, and somehow he shoots himself on television and he could never get help, and there's video evidence of him getting shot on television, then in my mind, I'd be like, wait, he shot himself on television? Then the back of my mind would be like, I'm kind of curious to see what that looked like. That is the
You're
sick
talking
part
as
of my
someone
mind.
that would be making the show, right? Not as a viewer. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's me as a viewer. I'd be
as
kind
a viewer,
of like,
okay.
What did that look like for him to shoot himself on television? I don't know if I'd want to go out of my way to see that, but like if I'm sitting there as a live audience member in like the 70s, I would be like, what did it look like for him to shoot himself on television?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then he got
it's curiosity. I mean, at the time, yeah, shocked, very shocked. Yeah. But no, if someone was like, I'm going to kill myself on TV, and I'd be like, no, I don't want you to go through with that.
Yeah, it's like I mean, I know their ratings were low, but it's like, whoa, that's a huge liability. Like there's so few networks and like that exist that day, and you may traumatize like half of America's children because they're going to be watching that.
If we were working for like Fox or CBS or something, and your anchorman, like David Muir or something, is like, I'm going to shoot myself when I'm casting the news next week, like, don't be like, all right, David, here's the gun. When Anderson Cooper, help him out. Like, come on.
Yep. That's basically what they did, because they didn't give a shit about the effect that they had on their viewers, only to increase ratings, to get advertising support, just like our fucking smartphones, just like our smartphones, just like social media.
But with social media now, and with the interaction of people in social media in today's society, no one would let that happen. Like our society at our level, like with people such as yourself and myself, we would not let that happen with the interactivity of ourselves in social media. If we knew that like a anchorman or woman was like, I'm going to kill myself next week, ourselves would be so hot on social media at the news stations and things like that. Like we would be on that desk like wildfire, being like, all right, we're going to stop this person from killing themselves. Like, I feel like we would have our sights on everything, and then they would be like, the FBI are in David Muir's bedroom right now, making sure he can't move his hands and is handcuffed to, like, his bedpost, so he can't shoot
I see
himself.
that happening. Yeah, I agree with you. There'd be people organizing to help to protest it, to get him to stop the network from, letting him go.
Sorry, I apologize to David Muir for using his name. Like, I highly doubt he would be the one to do this, but like that's just the example I'm using. But
the thing is that, like, as you're using this example, I have a question. Is that, yes, I could definitely see people like organizing together to then make it like stop it from happening, like stop the angry man from killing himself. I could definitely see that happening. If that were like but like what I'm talking about here is the network in this case were like, oh, he's gonna shoot himself. Well, let's just see what happens, because they didn't think too hard about, okay, what if he does kill himself? Half of there's like millions of kids watching with their parents, and they're going to get traumatized by seeing a man shoot himself in the head and committing suicide. That trauma that would happen, that would be inflicted on those little kids throughout the country, they didn't even give it a second thought. Like, it didn't even matter. They just knew whatever he foretold, whatever he's going to do, just let him be on the show, because we know that we're going to have America's attention. We're going to have America's attention. And they were like, okay, well, if he does, like, take away the gun or load the gun with like rubber bullets so he doesn't actually kill himself, whatever. Like, there was no precautions. There was no consciousness, moral consciousness for the collective being and how they could be negatively affected by this. And traumatized by this and desensitized by this. And that's what I'm saying, how that is very that is very similar in a way to the tech companies of today, and how we're talking about social dilemma, and that how they don't design these feeds that give you these instant gratifications and this addiction to having something new automatically within seconds. They don't consider how detrimental that is, and how it's a part of a machine that brings out the worst in people. All they care about is keeping your attention, knowing that you're going to be there scrolling, just like this network, knowing that they're going to watch this in case Howard Beale kills himself, knowing that whatever risk that they have, it's not a risk on them, because it's potentially a huge cash grab, and it's there for these big corporations to then profit from at the expense of their viewers, at the expense of the audience and the users and the viewers. And it is it's just an incredibly sad truth, and
well,
it's eerie how similar this 1976 film is to what's going on today. And it's very
Let's imagine that, companies today are not going to profit off of people murdering themselves as a cash grab.
I mean, maybe not murdering themselves, but like they're definitely, because they think like, oh, what's the harm in you scrolling? It's just you scrolling. Like, what's the harm in you watching one more video that our AI predicted that you would see? But the thing is that's the thing, is that we think, well, there's nothing. It's not, who cares? I'm just scrolling, I'm just watching videos. And you think it's harmless, but it's like saying, well, just one more slice of pizza, like whatever, it's like, I'll be able to stop. But the thing is that in this case, you can't. Like, it rewires your brain.
The harm is you're burning time. That's the harm.
It's burning time, false information, bringing out the worst in you, not you, but like, the collective, and making people act way worse on each other, and jump to conclusions, and jump to these, and vote for nefarious people, through nefarious like intentions and manipulations. And yeah, it's
well,
it may not be as instantly violent as this case with Howard Beale could have been, but in a way it's a similar evil, it's a similar disconsideration, it's a similar sociopathic way to profit the rich, and
well,
this screenwriter is just he's just amazing. He's like Aaron Sorkin, or like, I'll say it again, like Nostradamus. Like, it's just that man's mind is incredible on how he wrote this.
Yeah. And I mean, other things to think about with the film Network. This film actually came out 2 years after the first literal on-screen suicide in television history. So
wow, really?
That's something to think about. Yes.
I did not know that.
Television news reporter Christine Chubbuck in Sarasota, Florida, was the first anchor woman who was apparently, this is reported online, suffering from depression and loneliness, and was often emotionally distant from her coworkers. So she shot herself on camera and stunned viewers on July 15th, 1974. Some people say that Patty Chayefsky apparently was inspired from that to write Network. However, Chayefsky does not say that this was the inspiration for Network. Apparently, he did have the idea for Network before the Christine Chubbuck case. So he was writing Network before that happened, but it just so happened that Christine Chubbuck committed suicide on live television in Sarasota, Florida, in 1974 on July 15th.
Oh my God. Wow. And in that case, he would be a prophet if he was writing it before that happened. Wow. I did not know that. That is crazy and very unfortunate. Yeah, man. I don't know if I have anything else more to say about this.
There was a
film.
report on it on Investigation Discovery, apparently, and I think there's like 1 or 2 different movies that came out or were being worked on or something around like 2016. And in the Investigation Discovery report or information that they were talking about, apparently Christine Chubbuck was asking if she could do a report or story on like a suicide case or something like a few weeks prior to when she actually killed herself on television. So, I mean, it all linked together about her own personality and, her feelings, her requesting to do a case on or a story on suicide. And then that leading to her own suicide on television. It's really unfortunate. It's really sad that that's what it came to. But it all comes together. It's really unfortunate. But it definitely coincides with the movie Network. It's interesting. It's interesting to see the similarity here.
Yeah. Very. And yeah, very sad. And yeah, it's a very eerie. It's the most eerie movie that has made me laugh. Just a real quick, so we're coming up that time, we're gonna do our final verdict. Slurps up or slurps down. I'm just gonna note real quick. The side story of Max and Diana's affair. That ending scene that they had before Max left her, and it was one of the only long monologues that was, I think I mentioned this earlier, that was very contained and very almost, it was very smooth and soft, and it wasn't like yelling. He wasn't shouting at her at all, but it was the most biting out of all. You could tell it was like the most powerful and the most hurtful against another person, and he said it in such a like somber way, where I think she mentioned like how he was in bed was like almost serene. It was very serene the way he said this monologue that was just such as like a very carefully analyzed observation of her that you could tell in her eyes that was all true, and it hurt the most. And yeah, the way he left that scene, it was just like, oh man, like I feel like
I was so happy to see him do that too.
It was so good. It was greatly written and greatly performed, and everybody's amazing in this. Every single actress was incredible in this, and But to move on, I mean, let's go. I don't really have much else to say before we go into our final verdict. Do you, Adam?
Uh, I think one other thing I just wanted to say was in regards to the Academy Award nomination and wins that they made. I mean, they were nominated for various Academy Awards. Best Picture, they were nominated for Best Director, Best Editing, Best Cinematography. They won 3 of the 4 acting awards. But one of the ones that they did win, which was Best Supporting Actress, I just wanted to note that that was Beatrice Straight who won Best Supporting Actress. But the note I wanted to make was that Beatrice Straight's performance as Louise Schumacher occupied only 5 minutes and 2 seconds of screen time, making it the shortest performance to win an Oscar to date. Ever to this date, to now, ever in history.
And she nailed it. She was so good.
Screen time.
And I say yes,
only
she
on
deserved
screen
it
for 5 minutes and 2 seconds.
She deserved it.
Academy Award for it.
She was so good. She was so good. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I'm glad that you brought that fact, Adam. That was I never knew that. And also with that short, knowing how short that was, being reminded of that, I fully agree with the Academy that it should have went to her. It was so good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our final verdict of this, the slurps up, slurps down section. So, Adam, I want you to have the final words on this. So I'm just going to go ahead and say very briefly that, it's definitely a slurps up to the planet Jupiter with this movie. Like, it was, we mentioned this before, how incredibly well it was written, how eerily similar it was to real life, how the actors played it for real, and that helped the natural comedy come out, how people weren't just like shouting to just like shout. People were shouting with reason and real emotions behind their words, and the existential observation of not only media but also like the world in itself, and the cinematography and the editing in this, and the direction of this film, and where it stands in history, and how it comments on and relates to things in the modern day here in the 2020s. Currently, we recorded this in the year 2020, going through some really rough times right now as a society. But yeah, it's I'm so glad that you recommended this, Adam, and I'm so glad I've now seen this film. And yeah, forever a slurps up from DJ Gearhart. What's your final verdict, sir?
I gotta say that this film, as recommended by you, DJ, is recommended by so many people, so many groups out there. The Writers Guild of America. It's recommended by AFI, the American Film Institute, and I can't hold back. It's gonna be recommended by me as well. I gotta give it a gigantic, humongous slurps up all the way, the biggest slurps up that I can. The thing with this film is that the dialogue drives this film. Anyone could say that about any film. It's dialogue driven, but this film especially, the dialogue makes this film. The script for this film is essential, and the dialogue does not lie at all in this film. The dialogue is so real and so relatable, and it's almost like watching a documentary. This film is not a documentary, but it is almost like watching a documentary, because you could watch this film and it's just like watching history. And I say that because, well, first off, you're watching a film from the 1970s, so you are watching history. As you said, DJ, it is 2020 right now, so we're watching a film from the past. That's step one. But the other thing is that how strangely just real the antagonists are in this film. How sick I think the personalities of the antagonists are in this film, and how they exploit the character Howard Beale just to get more money, to get higher ratings for their company. I get that when you're an executive for a company and you want the best for yourself, you want to make more money and you want to sustain yourself or your well-being, but they don't care about Howard Beale. They don't care for him one bit. They just want to use him so they can make more money. And that is the thing about this movie, is seeing them exploit him and not care about Howard Beale or care about anyone else in this movie. And the one thing that really stuck with me when I finished this movie, the one thing that will always stick with my mind, other than the fantastic quotes that will remain in my memory, is the fact that the movie started off with Howard Beale threatening to kill himself on live television, and the movie ending with Howard Beale getting assassinated on live television, both of which enhanced ratings. Howard Beale threatening to kill himself and Howard Beale actually getting murdered. It is sickening, and it is what we are living in now, and it is what we were living in the 1970s. I highly recommend checking out this film. It is getting a definite slurps up for me.
Hell yeah. I mean, hell yeah, as in like, I hear you on all the bad stuff. I'm like, ugh. But yeah, hell yeah, as in like, please go watch this movie. Yes, for sure. And try watching The Social Dilemma right afterwards on Netflix. Yeah, I think those, as I experienced that this week, I think those two movies really go together. Those are like, you know, like father and son, mother and daughter kind of films, you know, they're companion pieces. But anyway, that is our review of the 1976 film Network, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening to that with us. But moving on, we're getting towards the end here, but right now it is Soto plug time. That's right. That's when we shamelessly plug something that we're each doing separately besides Screen Slurps. And I'll start off in saying that me, DJ Gearhart, myself, I stream. Yes, I stream on Twitch every Sunday at 6 p.m. Central Time. Yes, I play video games, right? Yeah, big surprise. I play video games.
Battle some pets sometimes.
I make funny, battle pets on World of Warcraft, and I make funny noises and funny faces on it, and I say hi, and I'm nice to everybody who comes and watches my stream because I really appreciate it. But yeah, it's a good fun time. It's casual, laid back. I do plug the podcast on it shamelessly to ask people to go watch Screen Slurps if you'd be so kindly. But yeah, if you would like to follow me, I'm at twitch.tv/-jhart. That is twitch.tv/DASHJAYHART. Adam, what is your Soto plug?
You can catch me on Twitter at my name, Adam Meisner, or on Instagram, or on Facebook, or all over the social media, SoundCloud. I make music, and I take requests. I love taking requests. I also write original music. So please let me know what you want to listen to, or if you like my original stuff, just let me know. Please, just let me know.
Freebird.
If I leave here tomorrow. That was a little Leonard Skinner-y. That wasn't really my normal voice, but
one more. Don't Stop Believing.
That's really high. Man.
We'll work on it later. We'll work on it together. Anyway, well,
slow down, girl.
That wraps it up for this episode. Screen Slurps, everybody. Don't stop believing. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please be sure to like/follow us on social media. And as you're listening to social or follow us on social media, don't spend too much time on social media, as we mentioned before. But yes, we release new episodes every Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and just about everywhere you can find podcasts on the internet. And please be sure to follow us and subscribe to us on those platforms. And if you like our show, please give us a nice 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and recommend us to everyone in your multiverse. Yes, it will help the show grow to new heights. So closing out, this is DJ Gearhart.
I'm Adam Meisner.
Slurps up, and we'll catch you later.